keynote, which I think I'll convert to a TED Talk format and do a 10-15 minutes, because I've been told that I'm the only one standing between you guys and the awards. Is that right? Oh, you're one more. Oh man, all the best. All right, it's pretty late in the evening. So we've all heard of skills-based organization and what people are doing around it. Normally when I do these keynotes, and some of my friends who are here in this room, they finally decided that we're not going to sit. They've left, but I'm seeing very new faces, so it's a good thing to know. So you may not have heard of these keynotes that I've done before. But my intent is always very simple, that I don't want to show you or tell you something that you find on Google or ChatGPT or Meta or any of these. Okay, so what you're going to see during the course of the presentation, once I have the presenter, are things which I would say are lessons from my mistakes, things that I've gone wrong with, and also certain things that I'm doing a POC on. So trust me, a lot of this is stuff that you can actually go back, take it back to your organization, speak to your CHRO, and tell him or her that this is stuff that you've created or you've strategized, and you'll get all brownie points and a great increment next year is my commitment to you. All right, so, okay, a quick show of hands. How many of you have actually heard of skills-based organizations? One, awesome, awesome. And how many of you have actually started working on skills within the organization? Oh, lovely, awesome. And anybody who's like dying to talk, can you just give me a quick 30 seconds preview on what you're doing on the skill side? Anybody? It'll just kind of, get you guys interacting and, yeah, please go ahead, sir.
People in my team have been asked to have PM skills and PM certifications, right? But what I'm looking there is I say, hey, can this person really PM, right? Can this person really project manager? And I say, how? What are your skills of being able to communicate for action rather than just great English written and spoken?
Right.
So that's one of the skill.
Right.
But there's a list like that.
But who prepares that list?
Myself.
Correct. And I know, thank you so much for this. I know a lot of us have started hearing about skills, and a lot of organizations are working towards skills. IKEA, for example, they've done a fantastic job on skills. But a lot of this is still inward looking. And correct me if I'm wrong. We sit and we make. So there's nothing different to what we were doing, let's say, decades back, where HR used to sit and we used to write things like competency maps, remember? And we used to have a lot of function, but as sir said, that you move beyond behavioral and you're trying to get into the core function of it. Well, how many of you are using, okay, I don't like using the word AI, okay, I think currently it's the world's most abused term, okay, with no sense and whatsoever, we just throw it everywhere. But how many of you are using technology to scrape skills? A quick show of hands. There. See, now the hands go down. And this is what I'm trying to establish as the first thing that you should take back. If you're looking at skills inward, as in you're asking people inside, okay, that what should this project manager be doing in terms of skills, you will not get the right output. Okay? So very broadly, I have a lot of slides, but I'm going to skip all of them because all of this was my 30-minute keynote. But you are most welcome to reach out to me and ask me more details of how do you do it. But there is technology available using which you give it for the same example. You tell that technology, I want to scrape skills for a project manager who's working in whatever is the industry, let's say product, okay, and who's got 10 years of experience. But I want to benchmark this project manager with an Amazon based out of the US, not India. You have tech like that available. The minute you feed in that information, which we call the comparator basket, what do you get? You get things like what skills are needed from a functional, behavioral, techno-functional, the whole list. What proficiency level do you need the skill at? PL 1, 2, 3, 4. But I think this PL business, we in L&D have kind of forgotten how to do it. We're all the same fraternity. I'm blaming myself as much. We just go and label it PL 1, 2, 3, 4. Not enough. You have to have English around it. You have to describe what does a skill mean, and therefore what does a PL1 skill mean, PL2 mean, PL3 mean, and PL4 mean. You can visualize this like a tree. So if you were to learn accounting and you buy a book on accounting, okay, then there are chapters inside it. Maybe chapter 1 to 10 is your PL1, chapter 11 to 20 is your PL2. So describe all of that. So you get that at the click of a button. Then you also get that which is the world's most consumed learning program per skill, per proficiency level, sitting on what platform, paid and unpaid, both. So if your organization has lots of money, go ahead and subscribe. If you don't, start using the open source programs. And then you also get a dollar value per skill. And I don't know how many of you have heard of this use case. The law of organization, and Mercer, I believe, is doing a lot of work on this. They're saying that is a job about skills? If the answer is yes, then the pay should be as per skills, pay per skill, right? So your compensation structures are getting revised. So there's a lot of work happening here. If you've done this, then obviously the next things to do is assess and do all of that. Now I know a lot of you are aware of the use cases of skills for learning, all right? It's straightforward. I got the skill map, I assessed all the people, I started passing judgments, good, bad, ugly, and I started throwing them into training programs. This is a straightforward use case. But I think there's something more, okay? And I think if you do skills properly, it has an impact on everything hire to retire. That one chart there actually shows you the list of questions that you can answer if you have the right skill data. I'll give you one example, which I have not created an illustration of. Performance management is our favorite time of the year, right? I mean, we love doing it. All of us as HR. So what do? We basically have, ratings and all of that. So I call it the judge and jury approach. There is a judge, there is a jury, and we start passing out verdicts, right? And we say that good, bad, ugly. Isn't that what we do, right? And then we start thinking promotions. And how promotions decided? Pretty much we look at tenure. How many years has this person spent in the company? Then we look at the 9-box ratings, and then we start saying, is this a flight risk? How important is this person to the organization? If I don't promote, this person is going to bugger off, right? Let's be real. These are the real conversations that happen. But there's one data that we don't look at, or we just believe in gut, which is to say that if I promote this person to this role, is this person having the skills to perform in this role? And is that by data or is that by gut? All right, so skills-based organization gives you data to show you that yes, this person can actually be performing in this role and performing well. All right, so those are the kind of answers that we answer if you do a skills-based organization properly. As I said, I'm timing myself, so I'm going to be very quick on this. This pretty much is the illustration to say that everything hire to retire. I don't know how many of you have thought about this, but even things like ESG, right? I mean, I'm sure a lot of organizations are chasing the UN SDG goals. You're working towards ESG, etc. Skills has a very strong use case for ESG. Skills has a very strong use case for strategy, organizational strategy. It also has a very strong use case for performance. Okay, and I'm going to show you a few, and then start from the basics. Very basic, it impacts your JD. A lot of people who leave organizations or who are not happy after they join a company, they would have told you, guys, you told me something in the job description or something else when the recruitment happened. But when I came, I realized there's something else that I'm doing. People have that challenge, okay, because they think that you were not very clear or you're not able to articulate very well. Would it not be great if you could possibly put on a job description not just the roles and responsibilities, but also the skills that you expect the person to carry and the KPIs that you expect the person to deliver on, all right? So what you see there is pretty much a simple illustration to say that you've got skills, you've got jobs and responsibilities which are mapped to the skills. So these skills are not standalone. Every role or responsibility has a map to a skill. Because if you actually think about it, if you have to perform a certain role, a task, you need a certain skill. So is that mapping done in your organization? If yes, you can put it there. And then of course, things like what KPIs are expected to be delivered on. But this is one of my favorite. We are moving, and the industry is moving, people at least who have adopted skills, they are moving towards mapping KPI and skills. KPIs as in your goals, okay, or OKRs, whatever, MBO, OKR, BSc, whatever you're using. But there is a method to map those KPIs to skills. If you're able to do that, all right, imagine the power that you unleash in the organization. Okay, just think about it. The minute you have a KPI to skill map, all right, a KPI for me is not working well. In other words, I'm not able to perform well on a particular KPI. Now, we always believe performance is a skill and a will issue, right? Assuming there is will. Because if there's no will, then nothing else matters. Assuming that the will is intact, okay, then possibly it's a skill issue. Maybe the person needs some learning, coaching, development. But you can go micro. Rather than putting a person through a 3-day manager development or LDP or EDP or whatever of those, you can go micro and say that only this part of that particular curriculum is needed because that is the kind of mapping that you've done to the skill. But that's not all. If you are a leader in the organization, and let's suppose you are planning to go IPO in the next 2 years, let's say I'm sure you have plans in the next 4-5 years, you want to go IPO. And you lay out that to go IPO, these are the 10 tasks that I need to do, all right? And these are my measure of success, which are, let's say, KPIs. And now you know that for each of these tasks, these are the skills that you need. Now, all you have to do is find out those skill champions in the organization, that who are those people who are actually high on that skill, bring them together, create a cohort, and put them into a project called IPO readiness. Now, keep thinking, this goes deeper for everything strategy in your organization, all right? What you see there is an illustration of how KPIs can be mapped to skills, and it's a very simple one for a global head of supply chain. If this is the kind of KPIs that you've got, then those are the kind of skills that you need. So for me, if I have to say that this particular thing for me, customer on time in fill, is not behaving well, all I have to do is go and find the champions on these skills, that who are these people, bring them together. Suddenly, your team structures become very different. I don't know if you've heard this, of this book called No Job Operating System, okay? The world is moving towards that. The world is saying that let's stop hiring people like HRBP or CLOs, sorry, not, okay. I mean, people have started saying let's not hire titles, let's hire skills and then bring them together to deliver on a project, okay. Very old school Spotify methodology of tribes, chapters, squads. It's just becoming smarter and smarter. And a lot of organizations have benefited because, and one of them is mine, because last year we were in a massive project of integration. We had acquired a company and the whole organization was going crazy because a 4-year integration plan was compressed to 9 in 9 months, okay, across 28 geographies. I got crazy. I had no time to hire teams. So I started looking out for gig workers and I just focused on the skills that I needed. And I found some amazing people, put them together, put them into a squad, and we were able to deliver for everything that was assigned to me. So that's the start point. Now see this. This is one of the best things that I think you guys can do, and this is where you actually unlock value for the business. I said skills informs strategy a lot, all right? Assume that one of your strategical goals is, let's say, digital HR transformation. A lot of people talk about it, right? Now, if digital HR transformation is your goal, then who are the critical roles who would be driving that, all right? So you see CHRO, blah, blah, blah. Now, if you go ahead and look at CHRO's KPI mapped to digital HR transformation, then those are the 5-6 KPIs. And then those are the skills. Now, to drive digital HR transformation for a CHRO has to look at skill champions for those skills. That's what he needs to do. And the minute he puts them together, the propensity, the probability to achieve that particular KPI goes high. Right? The reverse is also true. The reverse to say that when you start scraping skills, remember I said right up front that you start scraping skills rather than looking inward. We did this exercise. We looked at some of our competitors because that's how comparator baskets are made. I said, okay, I want to look at global supply chain head and I want to look at some of the largest global supply chain players like Amazon and Flipkart in India and the others who do massive work on supply chain. Yeah? And I got certain skills which we did not know of. To give you a case in point, we were in 2 digits of skills. Most of them were HR written in our job descriptions, right? The minute we got into this scraping business, we got 1,100. So today our skill inventory is 1,100 skills. Some of those we don't know. Okay, the business knows, but it's in their RAM. They never put that out onto the JD. The business, yeah, this is needed. Oh, we don't have this in the JD, we should mention it. It's opening. And then we got certain skills which informed us that some of our competitors for certain functions which we thought did not need robotics had moved to robotics. So we saw, I will not take names, but I'm come from a pharma setup. So there's a big player in pharma and we realized they're using a lot of robotics in some of the functions that we thought didn't need robotics. The minute that input came, we went to the strategy team and said, what are you doing about this? Because your competitors for this particular role have moved to robotics. And they're like, how do you know? I say, here's the algorithm and here's the data. Now, how does this net scraping happen, etc., etc.? Catch me on T and I'll tell you more about it. But that's the whole point. And even career frameworks, this is a big problem that HR deals with. How do we grow people? Okay? And we keep saying, oh, we'll do trainings, we'll do this. You know what? If you really want to grow as an employee, you don't need trainings, you need artifacts. You need an environment to learn. And you need that ownership. There are companies which say the day 1 of joining, find out which is the role that you aspire for and start preparing for it. Now, the minute you get into a skills-based journey and start showing everybody what are the skills needed, imagine if you had a tool or whatever tech You had for your role as an HRBP, these are the 10 skills needed. You assess yourself, you get a score per skill. Now the same tool can actually show you that basis skill adjacencies. Which are the other roles in the organizations that you can fit into and at what percentage? Suddenly your career paths become very fluid. And then if your tool is intelligent, you can add in things like role maturity, grade maturity, this, that, all your policy considerations, and suddenly you have a pool. Similarly, hiring, build, buy, or borrow. These decisions can be taken smarter when you look at skills. So today we, for example, we have an internal portal like any other organization. We have all those fancy stuff. But there's one thing that we also have, that for every role, I know who are the incumbents within the organization who have the skills for that role. And you'd be surprised that some of the names that are coming up, a lot of us are getting worried that we never thought of them. Even gigs. Okay, I know, I'm wrapping up. It's another 2 minutes only. Timing myself. So even things like, if you had to look at gigs. So if you want to, let's suppose if you're an e-commerce company and Black Friday, you need a lot of people for packing, a lot of people in warehousing. Find out those skills, get those people together. So that's how this thing works. My suggestion is that before you get onto the bandwagon of skills and start saying that, well, I'm doing skills, please read about it. It is not about competencies. It is not about inward-looking exercise. It is a very deep science, and it needs more strategic thinking. It needs more human intervention than it needs AI, or for that matter, any kind of a tech, okay? So I'm going to wrap up now. My time is up, and I don't think we have time for question and answers and all of that. It's a shame that I'm doing this very important subject right at this time, which is, kind of eating into some other people's time. But please feel free to reach out to me outside, on LinkedIn, anywhere else. I hope I haven't taken too much of your time in wrapping this up.